From tweeting about writing a book in dead rats to dragging his opponent's wife into a Twitter feud, Conor McGregor's deleted tweets have the ability to cause quite a controversy. And that's exactly what we'll be talking about today. Conor's fighting abilities are definitely what keeps him at the top in the ring, but outside of it, well, the man's definitely not known for his social skills. And sometimes, the champ tends to share a bit more information than anyone would want him to. I bet you already know which tweet I'm talking about. Yep, it's the dead rats one. This one, to this day, is the most bizarre thing Conor has posted on his Twitter. In December last year, he posted, "I'm so horny, I could write a book on dead rats." That sentence alone is something you probably won't be able to understand, even if there was context. What's his situation got to do with dead rats? And well, why would the Notorious be writing a book on dead rats? Is it gonna help the situation somehow? There are so many questions, but still, somehow, Conor decided to go ahead and tweet this to his 9.8 million followers at the time. That's got to require a lot of courage. But hey, McGregor isn't one to bow out of challenges. Fans were equally confused by his tweet. But I guess everyone's come to expect this sort of behavior from the MMA fighter now. Now, that's not the only time McGregor has posted a weird tweet and deleted it. If it was, then this would be one short video. Luckily for you though, McGregor has an unending supply of weird deleted tweets, including the one he made after his UFC 264 loss. Now, this one requires a bit of a backstory. I bet you know how McGregor lost to Dustin Poirier during the UFC 264 event. Well, as expected, he was not at all happy about it, and I guess I can see that. The loss came in the form of a doctor's stoppage, which turned into a technical knockout, and this was something Conor wasn't happy about at all.
I was boxing the bleeding head off him, kicking the bleeding leg off him. Usual side dive to close the distance. This is not over. If we had to take this outside with him, it's all outside. We don't give a
Poirier was doing pretty well before the fight was called off, so the odds were in his favor when he was handed the win. But this wasn't what the Notorious was expecting, leading to one of his signature Twitter rants. He wrote, "Jumping a guillotine is not a takedown. Absorbing the kick into the leg is not a check." Seems like he had some pretty clear advice for the match officials. He also added, "A doctor stoppage is not a technical knockout." He went on calling the official piss ants, adding that they were nobodies to him. Oh well, I guess he later calmed down a bit because this tweet was later deleted. But the entire internet still remembers when Conor McGregor called match analysts novice bums. You don't see that happening every day. The next tweet on the list was made during UFC 265, and I think it's actually funny. Well, only if you're not on the receiving end. So here's what you need to know about this tweet. McGregor made it as he watched the event comfortably with his family, and guess what? He couldn't stop himself from chiming in. Of course he couldn't. You wouldn't expect anything else from him now, would you? The Notorious took a shot at his detractors, saying, "If I was water loading and used bums were on fire, I wouldn't even piss on yous." Now that's oddly specific, and it's only making me feel like he has definitely been in that position before. Well, whether there's any truth to this tweet or not, it's nothing we should concern ourselves with for now. But it's worth noting that it shows exactly what the fighter feels for the MMA community.
He's done here. This is it for him. This is the end of the road. Even after that last fight, I don't love this anymore. I don't love doing this. He knew what was coming. He knew the smacks he took.
Coming up next is his shot at Daniel Cormier. Now, we all know how McGregor feels about Khabib Nurmagomedov and Dustin Poirier. In fact, we know the feud all too well. But a few years back, Conor added Daniel Cormier to his list. Yes, I'm talking about the UFC legend. Well, it goes back to his loss at UFC 264. On an unrelated note, the fighter should really go and talk to someone about it. He needs to process his emotions. Coming back to the feud, Cormier commented that McGregor's certain tweets were a cry for help. Remember that, it's important. If you're wondering which tweets, then don't worry, we'll get to them in a bit. But let's talk about Conor's reaction to it. He ended up posting a picture of the star commentator with a caption, "A cry for help if I ever seen one." And guess what? It didn't stop there. He posted another tweet saying, "Clean check right there by Poirier, fat drunk effing Cormier." Yikes, that escalated fast. But if you think that this is bad, then you're not ready for what's coming next. So Cormier ended up responding to these tweets, saying that McGregor needed to stop worrying about him. Instead, he should be worrying about the dudes that kept beating his ass every time he went into the octagon. Hey, those are Cormier's words, not mine.
Don't worry about Daniel Cormier. Don't worry about the things that I'm saying. Don't worry about how I'm dressing and how I'm looking. Don't do that. Worry about the dudes that keep beating your ass every time you go into the octagon.
And I'm guessing that this was all McGregor needed to go into yet another rant. But this time, he didn't post 1 or 2 tweets. Oh no, he went for 3 tweets in a row. That's never a good sign. In these, he called the great DC a fat mess and said that he was getting into worse condition by the day. He also called him a fake and said that his way of life is abysmal. Moving on, he commented on how Cormier was drunk at work, and that was a disgrace to the sport, and that he should get fired for it. Well, obviously he didn't get sacked for it.
They're not on my level. You've got to have size, reach, length. You've got to have some attributes. If you come in any way equal to me, I'm going to rip your whole head off, and that's it. I tell it every time. Eddie's a solid competitor. Eddie's a warrior.
So you can say that no one won this round. Now remember McGregor's tweets I was talking about? The ones that led to Cormier making that comment? Well, let's talk about them now. And well, it's safe to say that this one definitely crossed the line. Can you guess where this all started? Yep, at the UFC 264 event. What happened was that Khabib took to Twitter to congratulate Poirier on his win against the Notorious. He wrote, "Good always defeats evil." Khabib continued by saying that he was very happy for Poirier and that he hoped he would get the belt at the end of the year. Now that sounds okay, right? Wrong. McGregor took offense to it, especially the good defeats evil line. He replied to this tweet saying COVID is good and father is evil. Yes, he said that. Let it sink in. Now you know what I meant when I said he crossed a line. Of course, the tweet was later deleted, but the fighter got quite a lot of backlash for it. And it wasn't just from Khabib, but also from Poirier. I guess you could say that this tweet was offensive to pretty much everyone who went through COVID or had a loved one go through it. And that's something you don't joke about at all. As I mentioned before, Cormier said that this was a cry for help, and that family and spouses were always off limits. Speaking of spouses, fighters don't usually bring wives and partners into the middle of their feuds. But guess what? Conor did that. He dragged Poirier's wife into their rivalry, and as you'd expect, things got ugly. It's clear that he was trying to get a rise out of Poirier by getting under his skin. But there are some things that you don't do, ever. First, McGregor claimed that he was getting message request from his rival's wife, Julian Poirier. But the #1 ranked UFC lightweight didn't give much attention to this. He only said, "Your trash talk is as thin as your hair these days," in response. But that's when McGregor decided to take things to the next level. He said that it was effed up that his wife was sending him message requests, and that she wanted the hair in his nether regions.
There was no check. There was not one of them I checked. Your wife is in me DMs, hey baby, hit me back up, we'll chat to you later on. We'll be at the after party, the Win nightclub, baby. You looking bitch, you little.
Yeah, that's not something you say to anyone. He did delete the tweet though, so I hope McGregor has learned his lesson. But that remains to be seen. With that being said, it's a wrap on Conor McGregor's tweet and delete run-ins.